Chapter 9. We're starting with the World English Bible. He said to them, "Most certainly, I tell you, there are some standing here who will in no way taste death until they see God's kingdom come with power." After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John and brought them up onto a high mountain privately by themselves, and he was changed into another form in front of them. His clothing became glistening, exceedingly white, like snow, such as no launderer on earth can whiten them. Elijah and Moses appeared to them, and they were talking with Jesus. Peter answered Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let's make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." For he didn't know what to say, for they were very afraid. A cloud came, overshadowing them, and a voice came out of the cloud. "This is my beloved Son. Listen to him." Suddenly, looking around, they saw no one with him anymore, except Jesus only. I'm starting to think Jesus might be an actor, like a drama, a practitioner of the dramatic arts. Like these miracles that they're talking about, apart from the clothing becoming super duper white, which I'll get back to. So this story, for some reason, this miracle in particular is giving me like staged vibes, like Jesus put on a little play with some friends to convince these guys that, Moses and Elijah were there. And I like, I love Peter's fucking, "Let's make 3 tents. The boys are all here. We gotta put tents up for them." It's like, no, Peter, these are like spirits? I don't know. I can't blame Peter too much. It's unclear who Moses and Elijah are in this scenario. Are they ghosts? They're Force ghosts, right? Like Star Wars? It's Moses, Juan Kenobi, and Elijah-kin Skywalker. Foreskin Skywalker. His clothing became glistening, exceedingly white like snow. It could have been made from like a silk, like a really like reflective, shiny kind of, silk. I don't know what kind of, I couldn't remember the word. Materials. I don't know what kind of materials they had available to them that they could weave into their fabrics. And God, there is another word though. It's like clothing and fabrics and cloth and stuff that you fabricate. I think it was textiles. I don't know what kind of textiles they had at the time, but they could have, put like some mineral on it to make it really shiny. They could have done all kinds of different things to get the color and the shininess. And it was probably a very like cool effect, such as no launderer on earth can whiten them. Yeah, it probably looked very, very like it was they're on a mountain, so I'm assuming that this sparkly suit that they gave him is reflecting the sun, and the sun is very bright, and so he's like lit up, he's glowing, he really is just like illuminated with the light of the sun. At least that's how I picture it, because I don't believe that he was actually transformed on a mountaintop, and I don't believe dead people showed up to hang out with him. But I believe he may have put on a performance like that to convince his disciples. And like, I don't think that's the right thing to do. My guess is that he's like frustrated because he's trying to talk to his disciples, and he's like shown them all these things, and he said, he's explained it in parables, and then they take the parables literally, and he's like, no, guys, please. So I think he's just not getting through to them, and he's like, what can I do? What can I do to convince these stupid fucking people that, something very bad is going to happen to me? Even though, in my current theory, it doesn't. He stages the whole thing. I don't know if they crucify some stooge. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But I don't know, right? And then, yeah, the voice coming out of the cloud, that's Jesus' friend up on the rocks with the big voice. "This is my beloved Son." And if he's in the right place, it could echo really cool, everything. As they were coming down from the mountain, he commanded them that they should tell no one what things they had seen until after the Son of Man had risen from the dead. They kept this saying to themselves, questioning what the rising from the dead meant. Seems self-explanatory to me, but I think they still aren't convinced that he's even going to die. Maybe they don't think that the political climate is that charged. I don't really know. But they seem skeptical of his demise. I think they don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe that, their friend, who is so smart and inspires them so much, is going to be taken from them. And there's a lot of denial that comes with that. And this is the problem that he's been trying to get them to understand the whole time he's been with them. It's not about you and me as much as we love each other. It's about the greater truth. And that is hard to accept, and that is hard to live with, but it's better. It's better to acknowledge because it is true. We're so small. We're so small. They asked him, saying, Why do the scribes say that Elijah must come first? He said to them, Elijah indeed comes first and restores all things. How is it written about the Son of Man that he should suffer many things and be despised? But I tell you that Elijah has come, and they have also done to him whatever they wanted to, even as it is written about him. I don't know about Elijah. I don't know what happened to him. It sounds like it was bad. Coming to the disciples, he saw a great multitude around them, and scribes questioning them. Immediately all the multitude, when they saw him, were greatly amazed, and running to him, greeted him. He asked the scribes, What are you asking them? One of the multitude answered, Teacher, I brought to you my son, who has a mute spirit, and wherever it seizes him, it throws him down, and he foams at the mouth and grinds his teeth and wastes away. I asked your disciples to cast it out, and they weren't able. Yeah, it sounds like he has some kind of disorder. He answered him, Unbelieving generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him to me. Belabored Jesus is funny to me. Like that's realistic to me. Is he's just because he's human. He's a very smart human. He's ahead of his time in so many ways. He's got, he may have gotten the super lucky brain. I don't know. But he's just so fucking tired because he can see so much more and he understands the importance and he feels almost obligated, or at least, while he's here, while he's around, while he's got the means, he's going to share this truth with everyone because it will help them. And they resist it. They put up a fight. And they're like, no, I already know what to think. Me brain already smart am. No makes me smart, man. And he's just constantly having to repeat himself and teach the same lessons over and over again because they're not sticking. The people don't believe him even though they're watching him do miracles. I don't know what to do about human denial. How do we solve that problem? It's endless. You can deny anything and people love to. How long shall I bear with you? Bring him to me. They brought him to him, and when he saw him, immediately the spirit convulsed him, and he fell on the ground, wallowing and foaming at the mouth. He asked his father, How long has it been since this has come to him? He said, From childhood. Often it has cast him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Jesus said to him, If you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. Immediately the father of the child cried out with tears, I believe, help my unbelief. When Jesus saw that a multitude came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to him, You mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. After crying out and convulsing him greatly, it came out of him. The boy became like one dead, so much that most of them said, He is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and raised him up, and he arose. When he had come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why couldn't we cast it out? He said to them, This kind can come out by nothing, except by prayer and fasting. We got another demon cast out. This one's got some specifics, relatively speaking. It's got the wallowing and the foaming at the mouth and trying to I don't know about trying to throw himself into fire and water, but as a result of his seizures, his conditions, he, it puts him at risk. And I don't know about this medical condition. I don't know what in your brain would make you behave that way or act that way. He says he's had it his whole life. I believe, help my unbelief. And my cynical interpretation as I try to apply it to my own life. And this is this is me looking at the Bible through my personal lens and acknowledging that it's tinted this way. I see it as this father may have not been the best parent, and the kid's reactions may have been, a coping mechanism or a way to draw attention away from his behavior and onto his well-being, because his father was always over punishing him, basically. But that's entirely speculative. That is, I don't want to pretend that that's true. That's just how it could be to my, that's a fear that I have, is that this father was an asshole and that's why his kid is like this. And when he says, I believe, help my unbelief, that's him being all right, yeah, I see that there's a bigger truth than my bullshit. I was bad person to my son and I'm going to be better to him now, and his son, that helps him heal. But I don't know. I don't want to pretend that, it's that easy to get rid of a problem like this person had. There's a lot that I don't understand here. And Jesus even says this kind can come out by nothing except by prayer and fasting. I don't know what that means in terms of what kind of demon or disease this person had, that it can't really be cured, but, prayer and fasting? I don't know why fasting would help. They went out from there and passed through Galilee. He didn't want anyone to know it, for he was teaching his disciples and said to them, "The Son of Man is being handed over to the hands of men, and they will kill him. And when he is killed, on the third day he will rise again." But they didn't understand the saying and were afraid to ask him. What the Are they afraid, because he's always correcting them and making them feel stupid? I don't think Jesus was too cruel. I don't think he was harsh on them. I think he's been very reasonable in saying, why don't you understand? Didn't you see? And I think that was supposed to lead to a further conversation where the disciples were like, no, we still don't understand. Can you explain? And then he would explain it in more detail. But I think instead the disciples were like, oh shit, we were supposed to understand already? Okay, well, we don't want to look even stupider, so let's just kind of nod and see what happens from here. I think maybe his disciples were scared of showing their ignorance to Jesus. And so now they're not even gonna confirm, he keeps talking about dying. Is he gonna die? Is he gonna come back from being dead? Has anyone done that? And I think Lazarus or something, but maybe that'll happen later. Maybe that was a different book. I'm not really sure. He came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, he asked them, "What were you arguing among yourselves on the way?" But they were silent, for they had disputed with one another on the way about who was the greatest. He sat down and called the 12, and he said to them, "If any man wants to be first, he shall be last of all and servant of all." He took a little child and set him in the middle of them. Taking him in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever receives one such little child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me doesn't receive me, but him who sent me. If any man wants to be first, he shall be last of all." Yeah, I mean, why is it so important that you go first if you're just trying to get it for yourself? If you want to go first as it might be dangerous, let me go first, then that's a different thing. But yeah, he's saying if you just want to be the first to get your stuff so that no one else can take it from you, that's just greedy. That's just selfish. That's not looking at the bigger picture. He took a little child and set him in the middle of them, hugged the child, and said, "Whoever receives one such little child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me doesn't receive me, but him who sent me." And receives is unclear here. I take it as being receptive too. You listen to children. You treat them like little people, because they are little fucking people. You shouldn't hit them. You shouldn't force them into your brainwashing camps. And I don't like tying it to Jesus. Truth should be above everybody. I don't want to glorify or deify Jesus, but I do want to give him credit as this smart person of his time, seeing beyond his time and trying to help others do the same. But sometimes it seems like he kind of props himself up a bit too much. I don't know. Whoever receives one such little child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me doesn't receive me, but him who sent me. And that's him trying to pass it back up. He's saying, it's not me. It's true. It's just true. It comes through me. This is why I want you to listen to the children. It's not for me, even though I'm asking you to do it. It's just because it's the right thing to do. John said to him, "Teacher, we saw someone who doesn't follow us casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him because he doesn't follow us." But Jesus said, "Don't forbid him, for there is no one who will do a mighty work in my name and be able quickly to speak evil of me. For whoever is not against us is on our side. For whoever will give you a cup of water to drink in my name, because you are Christ's, most certainly I tell you, he will in no way lose his reward. Whoever will cause one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him if he were thrown into the sea with a millstone hung around his neck. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life maimed, rather than having your two hands to go into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire, where their worm doesn't die and the fire is not quenched." Gehenna is another word for hell, apparently. I don't know how I never knew that. And so, yeah, I like what he's saying here so far. He's saying, if people are going to do good and say that it's for me, sure, whatever. Even though I'm not there endorsing it necessarily, as long as they're actually doing good, it's fine. Whoever will cause one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him if he were thrown into the sea with a millstone hung around his neck. Yeah. The thing is, it's not about believing in Jesus. It's about believing in what Jesus was pursuing. And a lot of people think that's Old Testament God. I don't see that at all. I think Jesus was pursuing the greater truth. And my parents caused me to stumble from that. Get out the millstones, please. Don't actually, I don't want them to die. There was a comment on my video about my parents should be charged for abuse, and I don't know. I personally am not looking to press charges. I don't know that they would stick anyway because, and my parents are very proud of this, they mostly stayed within, the law as far as hitting us. But it doesn't take that much violence to traumatize, to scare a child, to make them cry, to make them fear for their lives. And they did. They made me fear for my life until I believed this bullshit instead of the truth. They made me stumble. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. I couldn't. They were my parents. I had nowhere else to go. They took me from my friends even. If your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life lame rather than having your 2 feet to be cast into Gehenna, into the fire that will never be quenched, where their worm doesn't die and the fire is not quenched. If your eye causes you to stumble, cast it out. It is better for you to enter into God's kingdom with 1 eye rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into the Gehenna of fire, where their worm doesn't die and the fire is not quenched. For everyone will be salted with fire, and every sacrifice will be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its saltiness, with what will you season it? Have salt in yourselves, and be at peace with one another. Everyone will be salted with fire, and every sacrifice will be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its saltiness, with what will you season it? Have salt in yourselves. So yeah, I think he's just saying, don't be dependent on other people. Have, the truth. Don't let any of your body parts tempt you away from the truth, lead you astray from the truth. It would be better to not have those parts than to let them do that. Fortunately, we're smart people and we can typically correct our behavior without having to chop off body parts, if we do it right. People like to pretend it's impossible, but it's not. Now for chapter 9 of Mark in the King James Version. And he said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that there be some of them that stand here which shall not taste of death, till they have seen the kingdom of God come with power. And after 6 days Jesus taketh with him Peter and James and John, and leadeth them up into an high mountain apart by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. And his raiment became shining, exceeding white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can white them. And there appeared unto them Elias with Moses, and they were talking with Jesus. And Peter answered and said to Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here, and let us make 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias. For he wist not what to say, for they were sore afraid. And there was a cloud that overshadowed them, and a voice came out of the cloud, saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. And suddenly, when they had looked round about, they saw no man any more, save Jesus only with themselves. And as they came down from the mountain, he charged them that they should tell no man what things they had seen, till the Son of Man were risen from the dead. And they kept that saying with themselves, questioning one with another what the rising from the dead should mean. And they asked him, saying, Why say the scribes that Elias must first come? And he answered and told them, Elias verily cometh first, and restoreth all things, and how it is written of the Son of Man, that he must suffer many things, and be set at naught. But I say unto you, that Elias is indeed come, and they have done unto him whatsoever they listed, as it is written of him. And when he came to his disciples, and he saw a great multitude about them, and the scribes questioning with them, and straightway all the people, when they beheld him, were greatly amazed, and running to him saluted him. And he asked the scribes, What question ye with them? And one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I have brought unto thee my son, which hath a dumb spirit. And wheresoever he taketh him, he teareth him, and he foameth, and gnasheth with his teeth, and pineth away. And I spake to thy disciples that they should cast him out, and they could not. He answereth him, and saith, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me. And they brought him unto him, and when he saw him, straightway the spirit tare him, and he fell on the ground, and wallowed foaming. And he asked his father, How long is it to go since this came unto him? And he said, Of a child. And ofttimes it hath cast him into the fire, and into the waters to destroy him. But if thou canst do anything, have compassion on us, and help us. And Jesus said unto him, If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I will leave. Help thou mine unbelief. When Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying unto him, Thou dumb and deaf spirit, I charge thee, come out of him, and enter no more into him. And the spirit cried and rent him sore, and came out of him, and he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, He is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand, and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he was come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why could not we cast him out? And he said unto them, This kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. And they departed thence, and passed through Galilee, and he would not that any man should know it. For he taught his disciples, and said unto them, The Son of Man is delivered into the hands of men, and they shall kill him, and after that he is killed, he shall rise the third day. But they understood not that saying, and were afraid to ask him. And he came to Capernaum, and being in the house he asked them, What was it that ye disputed among yourselves by the way? But they held their peace, for by the way they had disputed among themselves who should be the greatest. And he sat down and called the 12, and saith unto them, If any man desire to be first, the same shall be last of all and servant of all. And he took a child, and set him in the midst of them, and when he had taken him in his arms, he said unto them, Whosoever shall receive one of such children in my name receiveth me, and whosoever shall receive me receiveth not me, but him that sent me. And John answered him, saying, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and he followed not us, and we forbade him, because he followeth not us. But Jesus said, Forbid him not, for there is no man which shall do a miracle in my name that can lightly speak evil of me. For he that is not against us is on our part. For whosoever shall give you a cup of water to drink in my name, because ye belong to Christ, verily I say unto you, he shall not lose his reward. And whosoever shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it is better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he were cast into the sea. And if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter into life maimed, than having 2 hands to go into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched. Where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. And if thy foot offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter halt into life, than having 2 feet to be cast into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out. It is better for thee to enter into the kingdom of God with 1 eye, than having 2 eyes to be cast into hell fire, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. For every one shall be salted with fire, and every sacrifice shall be salted with salt. Salt is good. But if the salt have lost his saltiness, wherewith will ye season it? Have salt in yourselves, and have peace one with another. So that was chapter 9. Starts with a miracle, which I think was a play, basically. His disciples are still really stupid and selfish and egotistical, and they're so scared of looking stupid that they don't question Jesus. They don't get further explanation. And he asked them straight up, hey guys, what were you talking about on the way here? And they just don't answer because they don't want to admit it. That's bad. This is really highlighting the importance of honesty. Because if they had told him, even though they know it's a bad thing, yeah, well, we were kind of talking about which one of us is the best, and then he'd probably be he'd start to go into Jesus. They'd be yeah, I know, but and they might I don't know. I think the disciples hid a lot of their ignorance from Jesus, and I think he might have thought that they were keeping up a bit more than they were. It seems like they're always behind where he expects them to be. And when he says, there is no one who will do a mighty work in my name and be able quickly to speak evil of me, I mean, I guess he's right. But it's tricky. He's not entirely right, and that's why it's so dangerous to tie truth to any person, because people always make mistakes. He has done so much good by this point and demonstrated truth so much that I can't disagree. If someone speaks evil of Jesus, from what I've read about him, from what I understand, he doesn't seem to be evil. He seems to be trying to do the right thing, and even trying to be transparent about it. And people are just so stupid that he can't get through to them. So that was chapter 9. My main takeaways are: don't believe in miracles, don't believe in lies, don't believe in human bullshit. Do believe in the truth. And this Jesus fellow had a lot of truth. Not all of it, not everything he said was true, but he had a lot of really good points and points that are still very applicable today. And we still seem to have a very stupid population of people who are resistant to the truth today. And I'm not entirely sure how to address that. I am certainly no Jesus. I did say in a comment that I'm like trying to emulate him, I guess. Teaching and healing, those are good. Of course I want to do those. I absolutely want to do those. I'm not planning on going town to town like Jesus. We don't need to do that anymore. And yeah, Jesus is not prideful, is another takeaway from this. That he's not saying, oh, well, they can't cast out demons and not give me credit. Like, he knows that it's not about giving him credit. It's about casting out demons. It's about solving the problems. And the way that we solve the problems is by understanding them and by applying strategies and tools that have proven to be effective. That's going to do it for Mark chapter 9. Next time, we'll probably take a look at chapter 10. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.